The following is a presentation of the Boltup Sports Media Network.
Here comes pressure, throws it to Eckler on the screen. He's got a block to the 10, to the 5, into the end zone.
High pass. Did Williams make that catch? My goodness.
For a first down, Herbert with time. Now running out of time. Throws on the run. Down the sideline. Caught in the end zone. Keenan Allen for the touchdown.
Throws, and again it's intercepted. And that's Asante Samuel.
Here's another one. Watch out.
How did it feel when Derwin James absolutely powerbombed the out of you on national television?
You're listening to the Shock Therapy Podcast with Tyler Lawrence and Zach Alfers.
Zach, buddy, I feel like I haven't talked to you in a minute.
I'm back.
How's baseball going, man? How's this? How's your Chihuahua, or what are they? The
River Cats.
River Cats.
Baseball season's fun. Yeah, we're 2 homestands in for the River Cat season, and May is going to be tough. We have 3 homestands, so 18 games in the month of May alone. So gearing up for that. Once we get through May, we're 40% done with the season. So really front loaded with games for us. It's been fun seeing our fans come back to the ballpark, making these experiences and going to work at a baseball stadium. It's so much fun. It makes my job so rewarding. I've been dealing with a lot of just extracurriculars in my personal life, but baseball, sports in general, kind of is my escape for all of that. And I'm super happy that baseball's back. And then also, more importantly, baseball weather, because I was so sick of these West Coast hailstorms that we were dealing with these last couple of months.
Well, it's glad to hear your voice, man. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. I did not get a chance to break down defensive backs. And we're kind of we're 3 days away from the draft Thursday.
It's draft week.
2.5 days. So it's draft week. I'm excited because I broke down probably a good 150, 200 prospects. I did get a chance to watch a lot of these secondary players. I didn't get a chance to do a pod about it, but we got some ballers, and we have so much to talk about in terms of draft stuff that's just going on. I'm not sure if you're going to make it, but Thursday night, I'm going to be talking about picks 21 through 24 on the Say It Again network. We're having a little draft episode.
Belly up.
The Belly Up Sports is doing their own kind of draft thing. It's going to be a live show on both Thursday and Friday, or Friday. What is it? Thursday night is the first round.
Thursday night.
Friday. Yeah. And then Saturday. So we'll be talking about some belly up draft stuff. But for this episode, we're going to be talking about a full kind of our own mock draft. Kind of get our own takes and thoughts on who's going to do what, who could take who. If you're interested in doing a trade down and you see something that you like, go ahead and tell me, and I can go ahead and force a trade and we can make that happen. But let's go ahead and let's talk about the first pick on the board, which is going to be the Panthers. And it just doesn't seem like anybody really knows what they're going to be doing there, do they?
Well, I feel like the last couple of weeks we've been hearing. So here's where I'm at with the Carolina Panthers. They have been in absolute organizational disarray since, the height of the Cam Newton years. And even with McCaffrey there the last couple of seasons, they just couldn't, for whatever reason, put it together. And they're in desperate need of quarterback help. So I think that's the position that goes. They brought in Miles Sanders this offseason. They've added Hayden Hurst, so got some more weapons in that offense. They did let DJ Moore go. But it all centers around this rebuild, getting their new franchise quarterback. You let go of Sam Darnold. PJ Walker, your backup has left. They did bring in Andy Dalton, but at this point in his career, he's not the godsend, the savior of this organization or any organization. They need a quarterback, and I think it's Bryce Young. I've heard that's what I'm going with. I think it makes the most sense. I think he has the highest ceiling of these quarterbacks coming in. And from what I've heard, the Panthers love them. It has to be a quarterback. And to me, I think Bryce Young goes number one. I really don't think this draft starts until pick number 2. I feel like the Texan pick is the one that can kind of go anyway. So I'm going to let you kick that one.
Yeah, so like the Texans are weird, right? Because they need a quarterback. Davis Mills is not that guy, but there's been a lot of talk about them trading out. There's been talk that CJ Stroud's going to make it out of the top first 5 picks, which would be crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't think that they are allowed to come out of this draft without a quarterback. Like, there's no way that they trade out at the most important position, because you got other teams next year. They're going to be trading away 4 picks to get within striking range of a quarterback. They get one that just falls on their lap. There's no way they can pass on that. And I think the big name that's being thrown at them is going to be CJ Stroud if Bryce Young goes first. And I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball, because the hot name right now is Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson has all the measurables of that everybody wants at that quarterback position. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but CJ Stroud is not getting the same hype as Anthony Richardson is, even though statistically he's been the better passer. He's got more experience as a starter. But I think Anthony Richardson, you're betting on traits, on measurables, on the big arm, on the 4.4 speed. And I think that would be the biggest curveball that you might see, that nobody else is really projecting that Anthony Richardson is going to go there.
I like it. Curveballs right at the beginning of the draft. This draft is interesting, because usually you have like a good 3 or 4 picks in the top 10. You like solidified. I think Bryce Young goes 1, but honestly, I think anything can go after that. Are you good with your pick?
Yeah, I'm good with my pick. I'm picking Anthony Richardson. And I'll just kind of talk a little bit about pick 3. I don't think there's any chance the Cardinals sit here.
You think they're trading?
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to trade out. They need so many needs, and it just doesn't seem like they need a high-end, top 5 pick right now. It just doesn't seem that to me. I don't know what you're going to do, but if I'm the Cardinals and I'm that GM, I'm trading back.
No, and I think it makes most sense for the organization, and just for I don't love trading back in mock drafts. Obviously, a couple happen every year, but being able to find trade partners that make sense, where the value adds up, like that's why these guys in the front office make the money that they make, because their job is difficult. So I think it's much easier to go at the pick order, talk about the team's needs. I'm gonna keep the Cardinals here. They do need a lot of help. Now, they went and got Will Hernandez. They signed tackle Kelvin Beachum. They need a lot of help. They got Kyler Murray. They believe in him. But Arizona Cardinals have one of the worst rosters right now, I think, in the league. So for me, I think if they stay put, they need to address. I think the most important position next is going to be edge defender. So many good quarterbacks right now in the NFL. I think you see the first non-quarterback go at 3, and I think Will Anderson, to me, is the pick for the Cardinals. I think he makes a lot of sense. A very, very productive 3-year career at a blue chip school like Alabama. 207 pressures during his collegiate career. 6'4", 243 pounds. Everything you're looking for. He is a player that's going to help jumpstart the Arizona Cardinals rebuild, because that's absolutely what they need to be in. They need to be in full rebuild mode. I think Will Anderson, adding him, he does a lot for a roster who's in absolute disarray right now.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. I mean, a lot of people have him projected as being the top defensive player off the board, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, I think that the Colts, who I've got next, are also going to go after quarterback. They kind of have to, and I think CJ Stroud falling into their laps is just such luck that they could potentially have there. You're talking about a player who completed 73% of his passes last season at an adjusted completion rate. and had one of the most stacked offenses at Ohio State. One of the most dynamic offenses through the air. CJ Stroud is definitely the Colts are picking up a quarterback no matter what, and they're picking whatever the highest graded guy is that falls to them. So, even if off chance that Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, and maybe CJ Stroud gets picked third overall by a team that trades up for him, they're going to get either Levis or Hendon Hooker with that next pick. So the one that is best on the board right now is going to be CJ Stroud.
Yeah, and I think out
And
of
you've
all
got the Seahawks.
I just want to say about CJ, I feel like out of all the quarterback prospects, he has the safest floor, right? He is look like the most NFL ready in college. Now, not all of
He's
that
got the
translates.
size, he's
Yeah,
got the speed, he's got the arm. Every other quarterback has some negative draw to him, right? Like the big one being Bryce Young, small,
Hmm.
5'10, 5'11. Anthony Richardson, not really an accurate passer.
No.
CJ Stroud is like the safest guy that you could possibly put behind center.
Well, I'm gonna go. We're gonna talk about the Seahawks, which what a fleece of a deal the Seahawks got with the Russell Wilson trade, who has absolutely fell off an insane cliff. Denver would love this pick right now, but got to give credit to Pete Carroll. No matter who he has in house, he always finds a way to be competitive. They have a very young and exciting roster. I know I see the needs at offensive on the offensive line, but it's interior presence that you're needing. I don't see the value there at 5. I see a phenomenal value there with Jalen Carter falling to the Seahawks. One of the best prospects in this draft, regardless of position. Grading him very similar to Quinnen Williams when he came out of college. Very, very powerful. Kind of reminds me, who was their big nose guard that they had for a while over there? I don't know. The Seahawks love to play. Is it Puna Ford?
Puka Ford? Puna
Yeah.
Ford. Yeah, that's his name.
Reminds me of a guy like that, but has a lot more potential, I think. Just a stout-nosed defender up the middle. I think he fits the Seahawks build, who is a very physical team, wants to get after you. And Jalen Card, one of the best prospects going to 5. I think the Seahawks are going to be one of those benefit factors of the fact that 3 of those teams in the top 5 picks need quarterbacks desperately. So I think Seahawks luck out here and will be running to to the podium to select Jalen Carter.
I've got the Lions next. Lions are kind of hard to project. They did just trade away a cornerback that they drafted in the top 5 picks to the Falcons. Can't think of his name, from Ohio State. And I really see a huge need here because, they have Cam Sutton. They have Emmanuel Mosley, which is a great number 3, but they really don't have a corner that you can just put on an island. And I'm seeing a lot of Devin Witherspoon being drafted pretty highly. I think the other big corner is going to be Christian Gonzalez. And it really just depends on what they like more. And I look at their head coach biting kneecaps, right? You're going to go with the more aggressive guy in the secondary, and that's going to be Devin Witherspoon. Devin Witherspoon has been phenomenal over the last season. He's super, super aggressive, kind of a smaller guy that you wouldn't expect, but plays really, really big. Allowed a completion on 35.5% of his targets. I think he's a guy that's kind of jumped Christian Gonzalez in recent weeks just because it seems like a lot of teams are really just falling in love with Devin Witherspoon. And that Illinois' secondary was really, really good last season. But he was the biggest bright spot of that group, a guy who deserves to go within the top 10. I've seen a lot of people and like a month ago, they had Devin Witherspoon as kind of a distant second cornerback, kind of a guy being picked in the 15s to 25s. He's going to be he's gotten a pretty big rise, and I'm excited to see just how much of a rise he is. I think he is the best cornerback on the board, and I think he fits what the Lions want to do in the secondary.
All right. Well, one of my least favorite teams in the league, the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it says QB needs right there. I think they like Garoppolo. I feel like you'll see them take a developmental quarterback later in the later in the draft. I've seen a lot of Devin Witherspoon falling to 7, who Raiders definitely need some secondary help. They also have one of the worst offensive lines. Colton Miller. It's Colton Miller, and it's it. I think they find his running mate on the other side. I would have liked Devin Witherspoon here, I think, but going number one tackle right now off the board. I like Peter Skoronsky here. I think it makes sense. They need whoever they have back there. They need to protect him. Guys have no time. Jimmy Garoppolo is not the most best, on off script plays, getting out of the pocket. He's going to need some time to throw to. They got some new weapons over there. They brought in Jacoby Myers, who I don't think is going to solve much problems, but anyway, he's going to need time to throw. I think Peter Skoronsky, he fills a big need. It's more, I think, what's left there. I would have liked Devin Witherspoon, but big old 33-inch arms from Skoronsky. Could play some guard if necessary. So I think he gives you some mild position flexibility. Only 6 pressures allowed during his collegiate career on 474 pass snaps. So you got a good pass blocker there. Coming from Northwestern, we know very well that program is producing a lot more quality players. Most recently, Rashawn Slater from the Wildcats. So I think you see Peter kind of continuing that trend of Northwestern putting quality players into the NFL right now.
On the other side of the ball, I think the Falcons have done a lot to their defense this offseason. They've added a lot of pieces, but I still don't think that they have like a legit pass rusher that they can really rely on. Calais Campbell has gotten really, really old. He's going to be like 35 or 36, something like that. They've got Lorenzo Carter, who's also kind of getting old over there. Caden Ellis, they signed Arnold Ebikati. I don't know how to say his name, but they really are missing a legitimate pass rusher. So I'm probably going to go and give them a pass rusher because I feel like there's such a strong group up at the top. And I think the one that I'm going to give to them is going to be Tyree Wilson. Tyree Wilson, I think, is just a different animal. It seems like he is the consensus number 2 pass rusher on the board. A lot of people are thinking so. I ended up having 8 sacks last season, 6 sacks this season. Gets after the quarterback, and he's a under the radar run defender as well. I think that's kind of a secondary thing you're looking at with him. But overall, you're talking about a player who's just insanely large. He's got a huge frame. He's one of the longest defensive ends in this class. He's big, 275 pounds, and he's got a really good arsenal of pass rush moves that's really going to be able to help the Falcons defense kind of overcome that hump and make them kind of dangerous on defense again, something that they haven't really been in a little bit. So I'm going to take Tyree Wilson for the Falcons.
Looking at the Bears. What do the Bears need? I'm talking about value. This one's tough. I feel like
they need offensive playmakers. They need offensive line. They need some guys to help their quarterback out. It's kind of my thought process when it comes to them. They also need like a ton of offensive line help as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go. We need to protect Justin Fields. I feel like the Bears have neglected that offensive line rebuild for a long time. I think you could also make if either Jalen Carter or one of those top edge guys falls, I could see that being the pick here. But based on how our draft is going, I think I'm going to go with the where I lost it. I don't think Bijan makes a whole lot of sense here. Where did it go? I'm blanking. Paris Johnson. There it is. I don't know why I couldn't find it. I hear a lot of hype for Paris Johnson right now. Skoronski, through most of the offseason, was like the number one overall tackle. You're hearing a lot of hype coming into draft day for Paris Johnson. I think you might see either one of them go 1-2 off the board. With the next best, just makes fits. I think he's the best player that makes sense for the Bears here. Not 14 pressures given up in 449 pass blocking snaps, not as elite as Skoronski, but the dude is big, 6'6", 310 pounds. All the physical boxes are there, and has the potential of adding even a little more size if necessary. They want to bounce him inside. Don't do it, but he can add some weight as an anchoring right tackle. Think he could definitely. You see that run block there, slightly better than his pass blocking grade. I think he makes a lot of sense for the Bears, who I think need help in the trenches desperately.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they need to like build from the inside out and really kind of solidify their offensive line and defensive line. And I think it makes a lot of sense for them to go tackle here because like Justin Fields was as great of a rusher as he was last year because he was running constantly for his life.
Right.
So I think it's really important that they go and they solidify that. With the Eagles, Eagles are going to be kind of tough. They lost a lot of pieces from their Super Bowl run last year. But one of the names that I actually really like going top 10 that isn't really being mocked enough is Bijan. The Eagles really need to find a running back for them. And I think Bijan Robinson makes a lot of sense for them because you've got Rashad Penny and Kenneth Gainwell. Neither player has really shown Penny has like shown that he can play that role, but he's constantly injured. And he was kind of a slow bloomer for the Seahawks last season. And Gainwell hasn't really had that Bell House type of role for him. And if you get Bijan, you take a lot of pressure. Like it makes it really dangerous because Jalen Hurts is so good with his feet. But when you actually have like a legitimate rushing threat to go with Devontae Smith, to go with AJ Brown, to go with Dallas Goedert, like you're really making yourself a well-rounded offense. And having that run game with Bijan there, I think it would really make them dynamic and it would take so much pressure off the passing game. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a bad passer, but I really think having a legitimate running threat will just open up more in the back end for him. You'll see a lot more plays getting open deep downfield because Bijan's going to demand so much attention. And it hurts me because I really want Bijan for the Chargers. I don't think he's going to get out of the top 10. I think a team's going to look at him and be like, we could make this work, right? We can create an offense around the strengths of Bijan because he does so many things well. And I'm really surprised you're not seeing a lot more of him going as high as Saquon did a couple of years back.
Yeah, and I'm very curious why we aren't seeing the same type of hype for Bijan, who I think at least as a collegiate player, the routes that this kid could run on top of the physical running style, I don't think it's being talked about enough. And I think 10 is the farthest he falls. We have to wait and see, but yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense there. I've seen a lot of Will Levis at 11 to the Titans. I understand it. I've also heard early on in the draft process that they were in love with Anthony Richardson.
Here's my thing. Before you go and make your pick, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask this question. Did they not just draft Malik Willis?
Yes. That's my point.
Like, it doesn't make sense for me why they would do that.
No, I don't think quarterbacks here is the pick here. They have Ryan Tannehill, who I think is going to be the backup here at this point. I see them bringing in maybe like a journeyman type of vet to also add to the competition. I think they've kind of put their eggs in one basket in the form of Malik Willis. I feel like the organization wants to build around him. They traded away A.J. Brown to move up and grab Treylon Burks last year. I think they have Kyle Phillips in house. Derrick Henry is there for the time being. I think we go playmaker here. And I'm going back and forth between 9 and 10. I think receiver is a more attractive pick. They've done it the last couple of years. I think it adds more. I think it's going first receiver off the board. The guy who's kind of just taking a stronghold on that wide receiver one talk, Jackson Smith and Najiba. I think this is what is going to get fans excited. I don't think Tennessee fans are very excited with what they have going on right now. I don't think Dalton Kincaid or one of the top tight end prospects here gets people as excited. I think this is a pick that gets people buzzing, that gets people talking. And I think that's what you want for the Titans right now. You're not one player away from being competitive. I think Smith and Jiba makes a lot of sense. He caught 95 passes for almost 1,600 yards and 9 scores in 2021 as a sophomore. He has that uncoachable route running ability. He just kind of naturally knows how to shake and bake up there at the top of his route tree, how to stem people, a great release. So I think he has all the skills to succeed in the NFL. And so I think the Titans go receiver at pick 11.
You know, the reason I think Jackson Smith and Jigba has gotten so much hype recently and has kind of taken over as that wide receiver one is he doesn't have any weaknesses, right? Like you look at Jordan Addison, like people are really afraid of this guy being under 170 pounds. He's 6 foot. He's got great run after catch ability, has a 1,600-yard season underneath him, offers a lot, but that inability to block downfield, that inability to really stay healthy, and he hasn't shown to be like an injury risk, right? You're just projecting somebody who's under 170 pounds, playing with men who are getting tackled by guys that literally weigh twice as much as him, right? Like that's a scary concept.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the drops issues or the rawness that Quentin Johnston has. So I mean, if you look at this class on the high end, right? Like, where does Jackson Smith and Jigba rank as compared to Garrett Wilson of last year or Chris Olave? By the way, he had much better season than both of those first round draft picks last year on the same team. If you really look at Jackson Smith and Jigba and, you know, what he provides, he's the safest guy you could possibly pick. He's got a high floor and he's got an even higher ceiling. So I think it makes a lot of sense to go and take Jackson Smith and Jigba. For the Texans are kind of hard because I think they need a lot of different pieces. I was thinking that Jackson Smith and Jigba might not make sense if he's already gone. I think offensively, they've built a pretty decent offensive line. They've just signed Laramie Tunsil to a huge contract. They drafted Kenyon Green last year to play guard. He was the first offensive guard taken in last year's draft. They traded for Shaq Mason. I think where they're missing is going to be center Scott Quisenberry. Probably not the best starter, but a serviceable guy there. Titus Howard has not played well. So I'm going to go and get them a right tackle. I'm going to go and get them Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright's rised up a lot of draft boards himself. Really, really good player. And you're talking about a team that just took a quarterback, Anthony Richardson, and now you got to protect him, right? Make sure that he doesn't have to use that forward speed as much as he's going to. He's a power guy. He's got a lot of experience playing at Tennessee, played in kind of a weird offense with the Volunteers, but overall, like, has a lot of experience and played really, really well against some elite competition here. They're talking about Will Anderson against Alabama. His hand usage is really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and take Darnell Wright and give them some strength on the outside on the edges.
All right. Well, Green Bay Packers. I think before this week.
Pick.
Right. I think before this week, right, with the Jets picking there, you could go a lot of different ways. But with the Green Bay Packers selecting now at 13 with no Aaron Rodgers in house, shipped him off to the Jets for this pick. You got Christian Watson. You got Romeo Dobbs. Could use a new receiver. Could also use a new tight end. Don't recognize any of these names. I think they got a solid running back core between Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, one of the more dynamic, more elite duos we have in the game right now. You got to go replace, Mr. Anti-Vaxxer. And with Will Levis still on the board in this scenario, I think they go and get their new franchise quarterback.
Hold on now. They got a franchise quarterback, though, don't they? I mean, he's expected to be their starter. They drafted him in the first round. They haven't had a chance to see him play.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Packers are going to move on from Jordan Love.
Jordan Love needs to play.
Grooming him.
You're right.
They've been grooming him. At least not this year. I gotta stop you. I can't let you have them take Will Levis when they have an unproven kid on a rookie contract with a 5th-year option next year.
All right. Pull up the tackles. Let me see who has gone off the tackle list.
All right. So for tackles, you've got Broderick Jones. You've got Anton Harrison. Both those guys are first-round draft picks. They have some wide receiver needs. They have a tight end need. Also, if you're just thinking about value with who's still on the board right now, you've got Christian Gonzalez still in here. Somebody a lot of people are expecting to be a top 5 pick. You've got Nolan Smith. You've got Miles Murphy. You got a lot of edge help. And then I think the biggest need for them is going to be at wide receiver. You have Jordan Addison, Quentin Johnson, and Zay Flowers there. So their right tackle is Josh Neiman. I don't even know who that is. They've got Christian Watson, who they drafted in the 2nd round last year. Romeo Dobbs seemed to have made some progress.
All right. So I'm going to do this then, just based off of I think receiver makes a lot of sense from what we're hearing. People aren't super high on this receiver class for whatever reason. I like all 3 of those guys there. I'm going back to your original point. They've been letting Jordan Love sit for so long. I think you got Bach on the left side. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going Broderick Jones. I'm kind of going down the value board here, going just on the fact that if you're going to give Jordan Love a decent shot, I think you need some more tackle help. I think Broderick Jones, I don't think people are as high on Broderick Jones as they need to be. Coming out of Georgia, a hard-nosed, physical tackle. I think it makes a lot of sense. Sliding over to right tackle. He played left tackle for the Bulldogs, but he's a physical run blocker. High quality grade from PFF, at least in college. And so I think it's time to invest around Jordan Love. If that's your guy, that's your guy. I think receiver makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to go Broderick Jones because
I like it.
Yeah, I think it makes too much sense just listening to what you had to say.
Yeah, at 14, I feel like the Patriots like to trade back in just about every draft, high draft pick they're in. It never seemed to really pull too many first-round draft picks. But I'm looking at a guy, Christian Gonzalez, who a lot of teams are thinking going to go really high, and we have him falling pretty drastically. I mean, a guy that was expected to be the 3rd defensive player off the board going at pick 14. Wow. You're talking about value. I can't imagine Belichick passing on Christian Gonzalez being available there. You've got the Jets. The Jets did flips draft picks with the Packers. Jets have some needs. They filled their most important one, which is at quarterback when they traded for Aaron Rodgers. Here it says that they need a tackle. They need a linebacker. Of the tackles still available, you've got Anton Harrison, DeJuan Jones. Linebackers, kind of a hard pass on a first-round linebacker, but they do have at the top of the list Jack Campbell, Drew Sanders, Diane Henley, Trenton Simpson. All those guys I've seen kind of flip between the 1st and 2nd rounds, but I don't necessarily know if any of them are first rounders. So who do you got?
So let's go back to value. Let's go back to value. Yeah, I think I see my guy right there. Let me see.
You got Nolan Smith, Kalisha Cansey, Brian Branch, Miles Murphy.
Let me pull up the Jets depth chart because I don't think this pick makes much sense after I'm thinking about it.
It's kind of hard because I feel like a lot of the players that they did want are have kind of already come off the board a little bit. I
Yeah,
don't know
Aaron
what they do here.
Rodgers. They have a bunch of tight ends. That doesn't make sense. Let me take a look at. This one's rough. Going down the list, linebacker.
Yeah, I
safety.
tried talking, giving you a chance to look up their depth
Yeah.
chart and try to figure out who they wanted to take, but it's so hard.
That's what I'm going with. I just think the best available player that makes sense for the Jets. Need some deep over the top safety help. I'm going Brian Branch there out of Alabama.
Ooh,
What
that's an
PFF
interesting
calls
one.
the definition of a football player, which I love that. And he brings you a little bit of everything you're looking for. Could slide him up to the money type of role like Derwin James plays. He's a physical guy, likes to get after it. Only 4 missed tackles and 174 tackle attempts at Alabama. As sure of a tackler as you can get. This Jets defense was getting burnt left and right last year. I think they got a nice defense developing. And I think Brian Branch makes a lot of sense. So I'm going Brian Branch there to the Jets.
I can't fault that. The Commanders are taking a quarterback. They got Sam Howell. They drafted Sam Howell in the 3rd round last year, or maybe it was like the 4th round. It was kind of later. They've got Jacoby Brissett. They have a lot of wide receivers: Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. They've got a combination of Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. I think they could go offensive line help. I think that more than likely, though, getting some competition out of Will Levis and Sam Howell and have them kind of battle it out and trade the one away that you don't want could be a route that they could go. They also could go tight in here. You're looking at Dalton Kincaid being here available. They have Logan Thomas. Makes it kind of hard to go defense when I feel like they need to build around their quarterback because they haven't gotten their quarterback situation figured out. Will Levis falling to them at 16 makes a lot of sense, but I'm going to throw you a curveball. I'm going to take Hendon Hooker.
Nice.
Ooh. So I like Hendon Hooker more than I like Will Levis. I think a lot of people are talking about Will Levis and his massively strong arm, and I don't really like it, to be honest. I don't really like Will Levis. I like having somebody who can be a little bit immobile. I like somebody who's shown that they can win, and Kentucky was not a winner, even though they didn't have all those assets. But Hendon Hooker played really, really well over the last 2 seasons, and I think he's going to surprise people and become a first-round draft pick. I don't see a whole lot of people very on the Will Levis train. I just think he's being hyped because he's got some traits, but nobody seems to like him. So let the fall for Will Levis continue to keep sliding.
Okay. I can see it happening. This is going to be an interesting draft. I'm getting excited just going through this with you. Let's see. Steelers at 17. I don't see the tackle value there is not there for me. Linebacker with this class doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you're scrolling by my guy, which Deontay Banks to the Steelers at 17, a team who loves defensive, physical football players. They just signed Patrick Peterson this offseason. Got Alex Highsmith on the other side. I think you go and get Patrick Peterson or a running mate over on the weak side of the field. That dude's an athlete. I'm excited. I think his tape is very, very fun to watch. A guy who ran a 4.3 40-yard dash at the 42-inch vertical, 11-foot 4-inch broad jump. This is an athlete, and I think he adds the Steelers are a very, very physical defense historically. you need some influence of some just pure athleticism, and I think Deontay Banks out of Maryland gives the Steelers everything they're looking for to help solidify their defensive backfield.
All right, for the Lions, kind of just going off some needs here, going off some athleticism. I know he's going to be like 25 years old when this season starts, but he is the most dynamic tight end. Dalton Kincaid would help
makes sense.
the Lions so much, especially since they traded away their really good tight end last year. You got a team that's got a lot of speed with Jameson Williams on the outside. They've got like a true number one wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've got a backfield combination of DeAndre Swift and David Montgomery. I feel like this offense is only missing one piece to be like at a Super Bowl caliber level in terms of on-field talent. Even their offensive line is stacked. Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell being on the edges, Jonah Jackson, Graham Glasgow, Frank Ragnow, who was made the highest paid center in the NFL. This offense is missing like a quarterback that can really take them to that next level, and Jared Goff seems to be able to do just enough. They are missing a tight end, and I don't know how you don't take Dalton Kincaid, who's got so much ability as a receiver, maybe not the ability you want as a blocking tight end. I'm not really too worried about the medicals. He ended up playing through it and during the back end of the season, took the combine off, got healthy, which actually kind of helps his draft stock because I think you know what Dalton Kincaid can do. So I'm going to give Dalton Kincaid to the Lions, take him out of the Chargers, even thoughts of drafting because I know he's being mocked quite a bit there. Next on the board is going to be the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are probably trading back here, but I'm going to go ahead and let you make that decision. I know Will Levis is on the board. They also have a quarterback there that they've been grooming. Where do the Buccaneers go?
They just got Baker Mayfield. I don't think you see back-to-back tight ends go. I'm going value here. I think it makes sense. I really, really like Kalijah Kancey, his game. I'm going Kalijah Kancey there, help solidify the interior defense for Tampa Bay. I know he's undersized, but he knows how to get after quarterbacks. You're going to need that, especially with all of these great quarterbacks coming up through the league right now. 6 foot, yeah, but 280 pounds, led all interior defenders this past fall with the best rushing grade. You see that 92 for Jesus. And so I think it makes a lot of sense. You're going to get back to a physical brand of Tampa Bay defense who, since they've been good, but they haven't been as dominant as they were when they went on that Super Bowl run. I think Kancey helps bring back that physicality, and if he could add a little bit more to the run side of things, I think you got a really, really great.
Here's my question: Do you think he fits the mold of what the Buccaneers look for as an interior defensive lineman? Because they always seem to go big boys, right?
They like big boys. No, but that's kind of why I went here. This is why I'm going for this pick. Pass rush with these quarterbacks coming through the league are more and more important each day. Taking a look at the defense that they already have in house, Villa Veda, big dude. Greg Gaines, big guys. Logan Hall, Patrick O'Connor, some big DNs. Where Vita Vea can get after the pass rusher or get after the quarterback, but not the same way that Kalijah Kancey does. I think it just gives you a little more rotate. I think it gives the Buccaneers more chance to exploit mismatches, and so on third and longs, you insert Kalijah Kancey there, and on third and shorts, it's Vita Vea's role. So I like it. I don't think it fits the mold, but I think it makes sense here based on value and how this draft is going. I just don't see they're not. Will Levis, I don't think makes sense here. I think they like Kyle Trask. I think they brought in Baker to be Trask's backup. I'm holding off on Nolan Smith because that's my dream pick at 21. I think you adding another edge rusher would make sense. I think Miles Murphy is a phenomenal pick there, but I'm going Kalijah Cansey just off of that he's gaining a lot of hype right now. I think he could
He's
do a lot
gaining
of,
so much hype. He's so good at getting after the
and
quarterback.
I think he could do a lot of things. I don't think he fits the mold, but I think the Buccaneers kind of go away from just scheme fit and go for and grab a great football player falling to them at 19 because of what's stacked up in front of them. That's my pick. I'm sticking with it, and we could
I
keep it
got
going with the
you.
Seahawks.
With pick 20, the Seattle Seahawks are going to pick Steve Avila, offensive guard from TCU. I feel like
What
the
a sexy
Seahawks.
pick.
I feel it is. It really is. He's a big, massive guy, and he kind of fits that mold of what their head coach Pete Carroll likes on an offensive lineman. They haven't really done a really great job of finding and developing offensive line. They've kind of redone it in recent years. They drafted Charles Cross last season and Abraham Lucas. They had 2 rookies starting on the edges for them last year. Damian Lewis is in like his 3rd year. They still have Joey Hunt in the center and Evan Brown. And really, you can decide what you want to do with Steve Avila after, because he played center, he played left guard, he played right guard for TCU. I think his future is probably at guard, but he's a day one starter at center for you and offers that flexibility to play inside or out. And he's a massive human being. Big reason why they made it into the college football national championship was just having an explosive run game between the tackles. And Avila was that road grader in front of you every single time. A guy who is not getting enough first round hype, and he's good. I don't think people understand just how good he is. He's my top interior offensive lineman. As a true offensive lineman, he's that guy. So I'm giving them Steve Avila and getting them some beef up front. They also recently took in this mock draft Jalen Carter, so they're going big on the interior of their offensive defensive line here pretty early. We got the Chargers up next. You kind of already gave your hand to me what they're going to be doing. So who are the Chargers pick with their 21st overall pick?
And so, and here's my reasoning. We've seen the Chargers go back-to-back drafts all in on the offensive line rebuild. Staley's talked about how he wants to be an in-the-trench type of team. It's time to send the same type of attention to the defensive line. A line that has some good quality players at the top of the depth chart desperately needs some fallback plans for the aging superstars, the Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. And so, to me, edge here, being able to add the next great Chargers edge defender on a rookie contract which is now I think the most important position on the defense right now. With Herbert's extension looming, with all these difficult roster decisions, I think adding a young player with elite potential at the most important defensive position just provides too much value. Now, my dream fit here for the Chargers specifically is Nolan Smith. I love Will Anderson. Don't think he falls past the top 4 picks. I think Tyree Wilson is the best pure pass rusher. I think people are going to fall in love with the sack numbers. I think he goes in the top 10. I think Lucas Van Ness makes the most sense of falling in the top 4 guys. I like Miles Murphy. I think he's a phenomenal athlete. I'm going Nolan Smith because I think he's the best run defender of the guys who I think could fall. We know the Chargers' woes there, and I know 2021 was a great year for Nolan Smith. Was a big part of that championship season. 53 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. He was on an absolute tear his senior season with just 8 games with 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. Ended up tearing his pectoral, but still had a really great showing of that athletic prowess with a 4.39 40, a 41.5-inch vertical. Very great athlete, exceptional and explosive first step. knows how to just punch guys, uses his leverage just naturally low, and knows how to punch guys, get them off, and controls reps. He's great run defender. And if he gets just a little bit of the Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa pass rush to fall on off of him, you got a really great player. And so edge is my number one position that I hope falls. If one of those top 4 guys get there, I'm going to go for him. I really, really like Nolan Smith's fit here, especially how our board is falling right here.
I don't disagree with Nolan Smith. He's not my favorite edge rusher, and I honestly want to see a little more size than what Nolan Smith provides. Now he overcomes it, right? Like you said, he's one of the best run defenders, and he's not the biggest guy. I personally like having a little bit more size, like a Miles Murphy, like a Van Ness, and I think that they're better scheme fits. But Nolan Smith as a speedy, like he is fast, he is quick right off the line. He can pursue backside really, really well, and then he does offer quite a bit. I just worry that there's a pretty low floor on him with that size, because if you get him heavier, you kind of take away what makes him a little bit dynamic. Um, and because of that floor, like he probably offers the most bust potential of those edge rushers as well. So that's kind of the scary part with Nolan Smith. I love Jordan Addison. I think that they are already connected to him because their defensive backs coach helped recruit him at Pitt. Um, I think Jordan Addison is kind of my favorite pick of the bunch. I would say it's Bijan, Jordan Addison are like my top 2 guys. I really think that we need to go either wide receiver or edge. I mean, edge is the next most important position to me. So wide receiver, edge, and worry about whatever else after that. But I can't really fault you for Nolan Smith because I get it, right? I understand it. With the Ravens pick, and I kind of just want to speed through these a little bit faster, maybe not talk so much about each pick. I think that the Ravens probably could go wide receiver here. I don't think that they like who's on the board, and I think they're probably going to turn their attention over to the secondary. And if I had to guess, I know Joey Porter is kind of the higher, greater cornerback in this class. I really don't think I love him quite as much. I think there's a lot of issues with him. I'm going to go Emmanuel Forbes, kind of a surprise pick. He's a small corner who's got a lot of turnovers, so I'm giving them Emmanuel Forbes.
All right, we'll stop the sliding then. I know your favorite receiver crush here, giving Jay Jettis some help. Jordan Addison, the Biletnikoff winner. I know there's some hesitation on him. If he falls to this pick, that I feel like you got to go get Jettis a running mate, so he doesn't have to draw as much attention. And I think it just makes the Vikings a little more dangerous. So close to making a deep playoff run last year. So they got a lot of pieces. I think receiver here, adding to that core, building around those two, gives Minnesota a nice place to start.
The Jaguars really have a really good defense. I kind of want to go Miles Murphy, but they have Josh Allen, they have Trayvon Walker, they have Caleb on Chasen. I just don't see the value there. I'm looking for players that are a little bit older. Really not seeing too many of them. Let's go to the offensive line real quick. Anton Harrison is the pick. That is definitely the pick. Anton Harrison, super athletic as a tackle. Walker Little is not. I wouldn't say Walker Little has a whole lot of hype behind him. Cam Robinson almost less. I think he's only on a 1-year contract. I think Anton Harrison slides in as their right tackle this season, potentially moves over to the left side. So they get offensive line help.
All right. Let me pull up their draft. I think we got so many good receivers at this point in the draft. They love Daniel Jones. You've seen that resurgence of Saquon Barkley last year. They got Darren Waller. I think their most important need, it's right there, number one. So let's go Zay Flowers at 25. I think that is tremendous value for a player like Zay Flowers, a guy that I know a lot of Charger fans are high on. Would not mind him being the pick at 21, but one of the best separators in this class. Giants desperately need some receiver help. If Daniel Jones is the future, he's going to need someone to throw to. Saquon Barkley, Darren Waller, they can't take all the pass catching. You need somebody on the outside to push defenses, and I think Zay Flowers makes a lot of sense at 25 for the Giants.
At 26, the Cowboys are going to take Michael Mayer. I think that just makes a lot of sense. It's a huge hole that they have. And you're seeing a lot of reports that the Cowboys really like Michael Mayer. I think they like Kincaid as well. Kincaid's already gone. But Michael Mayer kind of fits the mold of what the Cowboys want in the tight end, a guy who's able to get downfield and block really, really well. A guy who could also open it up in the passing game, a reliable threat for Dak Prescott, kind of like a nice safety wheel for him. So Cowboys get another offensive piece. I feel like this whole draft is a lot of offensive players. It just seems to be coming out that way. Not really sure why. But I'll let you go ahead and find the Bills. I don't know. There's a couple different routes the Bills could go. What do you think the Bills do?
Let's see here. Scroll down a little bit for me.
They have a lot of pass rushers. I feel like they could use some offensive line help. I feel like they could use a guy like Jamari Gibbs. Would be a lot of fun for them. Maisie Smith. Darnell Washington has been getting some first-round hype. I don't understand it or get it, but that would be fun for them.
I'm going to go, I think, you let Connor McGovern go. You are kind of hurting up front on that offensive line interiorly. We haven't seen a lot of interior guys go, so I think some values there. Let me figure out my guy. I'm going Cyrus Torrance. Oh, you're right there. I think one of the top,
you were going with it.
Top center in the draft. Got to replace McGovern. Hopefully get him in early and allow him to start developing a rapport with Josh Allen, because that center to quarterback relationship is so important. But you're going to see Torrance play guard. He's going to play guard. 6'5", 347 pounds, a really big, overpowering, a fun prospect, I think. And I think he fits the mold of a guy that the Bills value as just a hard-nosed football player. So I'm going Torrance to the Bills.
All right. For the Bengals, I'm going to have a little bit of fun here. I'm going to take Jamari Gibbs. I think there's been a lot of talk about whether or not their running back is going to be around next season. There's been a lot of talk about him being a potential trade candidate. There's been talks about some of the off-field issues he's had in the past, and he's kind of just the only guy back there, and they don't really have a contingency plan for him if he leaves next season. Jamari Gibbs is that contingency plan and a guy that they can really use to kind of limit the workload that I can't think of their running back's name. Bengals running back.
Mixon.
Joe Mixon. I don't know if Joe Mixon's going to be there next year, right? Like there's been a lot of talk about a lot of different things with Joe Mixon. Jamari Gibbs gives him that pass catching back that'll help Joe Burrow be that dump off man for him. And I think Jamari Gibbs has a lot of speed, and really good in space. So if he's your threat there, I mean, that's going to be really exciting for the Bengals, who are already got a top-notch offense.
Saints. Let's see. I think interior offensive line, I get it, but I just don't see the value at 29. Just with, I think they like Eric McCoy. I think they believe in Andrews Pete rebuilding. Cesar Ruiz, I think they're set at tackles for a little while.
It's right here. It's staring you in the face, man.
Okay. I think go Miles Murphy. Grab him.
Yeah, I feel like
Freak
that's such a
athlete.
good pick for them.
And he's a guy also talking about the top 4 edge defenders right now, or top 5 edge defenders in this draft are, you can kind of flip flop them, and it's really going to be scheme fit. What a lot of it's going to be character and locker room fits. I think you could go 1 through 5 and rotate them and make after number 1. I think you can make a legitimate case for all of them.
They
Miles
lost
Murphy.
Marcus Davenport, right? Like that's the big guy that they lost. Like that's why this pick becomes so easy. Is you got Cam Jordan, who's
I
like
was
in
there to say,
32, 33.
oh,
And
getting
then
up
they
there.
drafted Peyton Turner last year, who's kind of a backup for them, right? Like I think going edge for them would make so much sense for a team that's constantly in trouble with the salary cap and needs to get younger in an expensive position.
Expensive position, and a guy who's a quality player, right? 76 pressures in the last 2 years. Thinks he makes a lot of sense, and he has some inside out flexibility. You don't need to lock him in at edge. He could be a big DN for you as well.
With the Eagles, we're coming down to the end of the first round, and we're just going to talk a little bit about some of our favorite second and third round draft picks. The Eagles are going to be kind of hard to figure out what they want to do.
I lost my large bag of Epsom salt, and the bath is about to be ready. Have you seen it?
No, I have not. Yeah, give me a few minutes, babe. Sorry about that, guys. I think that they need to get younger on the defensive line. You're talking about Brandon Graham, who's like 36 years old. Derek Barnett, who's getting close to 30. Fletcher Cox is not getting any younger. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to get younger on the defensive line. I can't let Lucas Van Ness drop out of the first round. I think that would be just terrible to see because I think he's such a good player. And he can play multiple places on the defensive line. You can line him up outside edge and let him get after the quarterback. You can put him inside and especially in that penny front that they like to run and have him play in that B gap or over the tackle. Lucas Van Ness has got a lot of flexibility. Final pick of the first round, Kansas City Chiefs. You took away Zay Flowers, which I'm super stoked you did for them. Who do the Chiefs pick?
Yeah, I think edge made a lot of sense. And so I'm gonna go. I don't know. I feel like Derek Nottie, Chris Jones. Chris Jones is not getting any older. And you're right there, Brian Breesy. The Chiefs are always getting a guy who's gets into the draft a whole lot of hype. And for whatever reason, they always get quality players even at the end of the draft. And I think receiver I don't think makes a whole lot of sense there. I think they're kind of all right on cornerback value there. I think Brian Breesy, a guy who doesn't have the as much hype as Kalijah Cansey, but I think is a very, very solid player, and gives you a fallback plan if and when Chris Jones falls off his production level, because the guy can't produce forever.
Look at his drop. I mean, he was expected to be a top 10 pick, and now he's looking to drop outside of the first round. I think a lot of his medicals came back, and that has really changed quite a bit. Let's talk about some of our favorite mid-round guys. So I think that the biggest needs for the Chargers, and based off of what they have here, it says that their biggest needs are a wide receiver, linebacker, and cornerback. But they're totally missing edge, which is such a vital piece of what they need. I feel like it'd be very strange to see them in the first and second round not go wide receiver and edge kind of back to back. It's not in there, Sam.
I could see that. I really see with and I get that. For me, I think what the Chargers fans want and what they actually need is a speed threat. I get it. I feel like you can address a guy with speed who has some, not maybe the route running capability, which we don't really need, who can bring you some yard after catch capability. I feel like you can get him a little later. For me, I'm looking edge, tight end, best available, because we mentioned everything about the edge, especially with Kellen Moore coming in, installing his offense, which is very tight end centric, and the fact that we need to be a better team running the football and defending the run. I get Staley's philosophy. A big part of our lack of ability to run the football last year was not being able to create mismatches at the tight end position. So to me, I'm really going edge. To me, it's edge, tight end, receiver, very close. But that's my dream scenario for the Chargers. Is going edge, best available edge, tight end, and then double dipping and going the reverse in the second round.
So here's my thoughts of wide receiver and why I think it's so important is because you're not just getting a number 4 wide receiver, right? And ultimately, if the Chargers do draft a first round guy, he's more than likely going to be the 4th guy on the depth chart. But you're also getting a punt returner and a kick returner. You've got Jalen Guyton, so he could even be 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it as high of a need as everybody thinks? No, not really. But you got 2 wide receivers who are going to be against 30 mil against the cap next season. I find it very, very unlikely that the Chargers do not find a replacement at wide receiver who's going to become your wide receiver 1.
Sure.
Problem is there's not very many of them in this draft class. Quentin Johnston, I don't even think Jordan Addison is going to be that guy. I think he's very similar to Devontae Smith in terms of just straight like overall speed and that agility to go and get open, but still not really a wide receiver 1. It's Quentin Johnson and it's Jackson Smith and Jigma are those 2 guys that really have that potential to go over the top. And then the rest of them are kind of like role players, like Josh Downs, probably one of my favorite small man receivers. I think Cedric Tillman could potentially be that. Jalen Hyatt kind of reminds me of who was that Texans and Dolphins wide receiver who went to Notre Dame, who had all that straight line speed, but was always injured. Played with DeAndre Hopkins.
Texans
retired like last year.
I'm not sure where you're going.
Anyways, like Jalen Hyatt, it's just kind of a linear athlete, right? Don't know if he really has that. But I'm really looking at wide receiver. I'm looking for a speed threat, right? Marvin Mims is a good example. Tyler Scott, Jaden Reed. These are all smaller type of guys that offer a lot of rack ability. I think you can find some of that later in the draft. I think Tyler Scott's probably going to go in the late 2nd to 3rd round. Jaden Reed is getting a lot of hype in that 3rd to 4th round range. Parker Washington, another guy that offers a lot of special teams ability as a returner. I think that we have to get that. And if you're not getting a top 3 or 4 wide receiver at 21, you need to go find it in the 2nd or 3rd round. That's my thought on receiver. I think it is a big enough need. I just don't know how much of a need is it as compared to edge when you've got 2 starters there as well. As big of a need at tight end when you've got Gerald Everett there. When you've got our same exact tight end room as you had last year. So
yeah,
there isn't any first round draft picks where I see this guy's going to come in, be a day 1 starter, because I think that on the top end of our talent, we have that figured out. Our first round draft pick is going to be a depth pick who's going to be a role player.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I like. There's a lot. If we go, there's a lot of edge players at 21 that I'm happy with. There's plenty of guys at 54 that I'm happy with. Same with tight ends. I think there's a few receivers that I'm in love with that I think, like you said, makes sense as the contingent plan behind Keenan Allen. And, if we do need to shed one of either him or Mike Williams contract next season, I think I hear what you're saying. I think those are my top 3 needs for the Chargers. How they address them, I can't wait till Thursday to see. Really excited for this next generation of players to come through, because it used to be draft day was like, oh yeah, let's get our hopes up and then get let down. The last couple of seasons for Chargers draft has been very, very exciting. And you're starting to see this roster come together. And this is going to be such a crucial year because if you don't get 4 guys in the top 4 picks that are going to be able to play, we're going to be in a very, very grim position as far as roster construction with all of these contracts looming, with those massive extensions we just handed out. And that's not even talking about Justin Herbert's super mega deal, which is, coming any day now.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with that. I think this is the first draft that we trade back and get
I'd love to
a
see that
second and a
because
third. I think that's the route that we need because I think the depth is what's important in this draft. There isn't a guy that you're going to be a plug and play starter in the first round for this team this year. Even JC Jackson looks like he's going to be ready for training camp, which is insane because we weren't expecting to get him back until the middle of the season. And there's been a lot of talk about him being ready. So corner isn't a big need. Linebacker, we have that filled, especially since we're only playing one. Maybe Brian Branch could be a plug and play starter. And Brian Branch is going to be more of kind of a slot corner than he is going to be a true deep half safety, right? Maybe a kick returner, punt returner, but still not a starter at tight end or at wide receiver. And I don't think any tight end in this class is going to jump Gerald Everett on the depth chart. So there's two players I'm making the pick for. I'm picking Bijan if he's there. I just think that is just too good of a player to walk away from. And I really think Jordan Addison, just because I think that there's enough of a connection with the coaching staff to Jordan Addison. He's the type of wide receiver that they want. They can make him a kick returner, punt returner. Outside of those two players, unless somebody like Will Anderson drops, I'm trading back.
I'd love to see a Will Anderson or Tyree Wilson fall. That would be my dream. I'm excited. Thursday can't come soon enough.
Closing marks. Give it to me. Who are your favorite 2-3 players in this draft class?
Period for the Chargers.
Just period. Just guys that you would love to see be Chargers on draft night. Any round.
I like Tyler Scott later in I'm really high on Tyler Scott if he can fall to 3 for whatever reason because of his size. Really really liked his game. I like Tucker Kraft in the second round. I think he's one of the better blockers at the tight end position. I think we got red zone mismatch in Donald Parham. I think we got a solid receiver with some yak potential in Gerald Everett. I desperately need a mismatch in the run game at the tight end position. I think Tucker Kraft makes a lot of sense there. A guy who gets after people, can move people in the run game, especially with Kellen Moore trying to implement his 2 tight end set. And I'm hoping that can pop some holes for these running backs that we got coming through the ranks. Because our run game was atrocious last year. And I think a big part of it was Trey McKitty's just regression. I still love Nolan Smith's fit as a run defender at 21. I love Quentin Johnson. I don't think it fits for the Chargers, but I do think that guy is going to be a great receiver at the next level. We talked about Smith and Jigba, who's right there in terms of potential as well. I guess that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Those are my top guys, I would say.
So
Jahmyr Gibbs. We're hearing a lot about Jahmyr Gibbs. Think he's a great player. Bijan Robinson, great player. Keeping it local I really, really love Charbonnet's game as well. Excited to see where he goes, even if if he doesn't stay in LA, because I think he is going to have a really good year too. I think those three top backs are exciting.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of running backs, I'll just talk a little bit about my guys just by position group. I have really come to like Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears is really, really good. I think He's going to be drafted in the second round, which is wild because I've seen a lot of people. I've even put him as their number 2 overall back. Guy just gets it done. Dwayne McBride, another guy who's risen up quite a bit. You get a chance to watch some of their film. Those are really, really fun guys to watch. Kind of potentially mid-round picks. I know Tank's a lot of team players are fans of Tank. I did a lot of work on Josh Downs. Josh Downs is incredible because he's a smaller guy. He's got that shiftiness to him, but he is a go up and get it wide receiver too. I'm thinking like Steve Smith, like one of those guys who just plays much bigger than he is, not afraid to go over the middle. This draft in particular has a ton of small, twitchy type of guys. Not a whole lot of big guys, right? So your big guy is going to be Quentin Johnson, Cedric Tillman, and then there's a huge, huge drop off of talent. The rest of those guys that you're going to find that are going to be these smaller, twitchy types of guys. I mean, just taking a look, Josh Downs under 6 foot, Nathaniel Dell under 6 foot, Rashee Rice under 6 foot, Marvin Mims under 6 foot. Michael Wilson, another guy that I've really come to like a lot. He's a bigger wide receiver, but he's got a lot of injuries behind him. Tyler Scott, little guy. Jaden Reed, little guy. It's a Xavier Hutchinson, another little guy. It's a lot of little guys in this draft. I don't think we're going to have any issue finding a small guy who can be that yak wide receiver. Don't love a lot of the tight ends. One of the tight ends I do like, Josh Whale from Cincinnati. Really good size, really good player. Really low, really low on a lot of mock drafts, but I really like his game quite a bit. There is one offensive lineman that I'm enamored with, especially since he tore his ACL at the combine. I really like Andrew Voorhees, one of my guys that you're probably going to find go, 3rd or 4th round. They have him much lower just because of the injury. I think a team's going to take a chance on him. I think that he tore his ACL early enough where a team may be able to get him back in the middle to the end of the season. Defensively, there's a really strong cornerback class. I'm not as high on Joey Porter as a lot of people are. I think he's got a lot of size, but his production, his ball skills just kind of aren't there. Isn't going to get you a whole lot of turnovers. Might play pretty sticky man, has a lot of the size things. Just not one of my favorite players. DJ Turner, 4.26, fastest cornerback in the draft, and plays really, really physical. He's a fun guy to continue to watch. Safety class, really not that strong. Not a whole lot of guys. Like all of these guys from 3 down to here, really interchangeable across all mock drafts. I'm seeing some guys. I've seen Jair Brown go as high as the 2nd round. Jamie Robinson is probably my favorite safety in this class. Jordan Battle played for Alabama. A lot of guys are really enamored with Battle. He was, he went to Alabama and was a 5-star recruit, and I just don't think that the measurables really match up to the game film quite as much. And then I guess one last guy I kind of will talk about. I really, really liked Tre'Davious Hodges Tomlinson. Get us the cousin back, right? So I'd love to see his ball skills come over to the Chargers because I really liked them a lot. I don't really have anything else to talk about. We will be covering some of the draft. We're giving away a bunch of items. I've got 3 boxes full of Chargers memorabilia. Go over to our Twitter. Just like, retweet, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you're listening to here. And we will talk to you guys later. Closing remarks, Zach.
I'll be in attendance for my dub playoff game. Because my team is owned by the Kings, I'm not allowed to wear my gear, so I wore it today. I will be quietly cheering in the rafters, and I can't wait to see Steph Curry in playoff mode in person.
I may actually be there. I will be in San Jose all next week, and they make it to that next round, I'm there. So we'll see.
All right.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Draft
Over
season.
and
Let's get
out.
some new players.
Let's do it.